told me just last week the Tea Party's dead. You're done for. He says it's over. He says you have no influence and that we will be beaten and that there's no future for the Tea Party. Harry, tell us, which one is it? Speaking in this Texas heat, I'm reminded of Castro. He used to give these 8-hour speeches in the Cuban sun. He was giving one of these interminable speeches, and from the crowd came a voice saying, "Peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jacks." Castro got mad, but he went on. 5 minutes later, or maybe 5 hours later, he heard it again, "Peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jacks." And he says, "I hear that again, I'm gonna kick your butt all the way to Miami." All of a sudden, the entire crowd said, "Peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jacks." I did have a problem with those light bulbs. I've got a problem with my toilet. I mean, I want the government out of my bedroom, but I also want them out of my bathroom. They tell me what kind of light bulb I can use, what kind of toilet paper. For goodness sakes, these Hollywood celebrities want to tell you how much toilet paper you can use. Is that the nanny state or what? They tell you what kind of shower heads you can have. You know, the light bulbs cost $4. I asked the Department of Energy woman, "Are you against choice?" She said, "Oh no, I'm for choice in light bulbs." I said that you're precisely not for choice in light bulbs. You won't let us make a decision. By the way, do you hate poor people? How are regular people going to afford $4 light bulbs? So President Obama gave a prize recently, $10 million prize to Philips Electric to develop a energy-efficient, cost-effective light bulb. You know how much the light bulb costs? $50. How much did we give Philips Electric? $10 million to develop a $50 light bulb. It's insane. We live in a nanny state. There are 38 federal agencies that are armed. Now you may say we need to have a police, we need to have an army, but does the Department of Agriculture need a SWAT team? No! Recently the Department of Agriculture showed up with automatic weapons and with a Gestapo-style SWAT team to close down a company that was doing the horrendous crime of selling milk directly from a cow. Recently, Fish and Wildlife showed up at Gibson Guitar, once again with armed agents. You know what their crime was? They're accused of breaking an Indian, not a U.S., an Indian labor law that says their product needs to be finished in India. It's a labor protection law, but they're being persecuted and prosecuted for breaking a law that's not even a U.S. law. We put a U.S. citizen, a Florida citizen, in jail for the crime of breaking a Honduran fishing regulation. He got 8 years in prison. One of the regulations was that the fish needed to be imported in cardboard boxes, not plastic. That's a criminal offense under the Lacey Act. We've let our government get away from us. But we're at a point where we need a new generation of leaders. We need leaders who believe in the Constitution. We need to know who will be the next generation, who will be our leaders. Roger Waters asked, he said, "Did you trade your heroes for ghosts? Did you exchange a walk-on part in a war for a lead role in a cage?" Recently, I met an Egyptian woman. When they're put on trial in Egypt, they're put in a cage. She's accused of promoting secular democracy in Egypt. And yet, what do the people in Congress do to support her? They say, let's send $2 billion of your dollars to Egypt and maybe they'll behave better if we give them more money. But Barry Goldwater, in that book, The Conscience of the Conservative, I think succinctly wrapped up what a lot of us are about when he said, "I have little interest in streamlining government or making it more efficient, for I mean to reduce its size." propose to extend freedom. My aim is not to inaugurate new programs. My aim is not to pass bills, but to repeal bills. My aim is not to inaugurate new programs, but to cancel old ones that do violence to the Constitution. Goldwater said that I will not attempt to discover whether legislation is needed before I have discovered whether it is constitutional. And if I am neglected, if I'm accused of neglecting my constituents' interest, I will reply that I was told that my constituents' chief interest was liberty. And in that cause, I am doing the best that I can. I can't think of a more succinct way of talking about liberty and freedom and what we're about. We have to fight it. I do believe we are on a precipice. We have a constitutional republic, but we've been losing it for decades and decades and decades. Jefferson recognized this. Jefferson said that a pure democracy would be nothing more than mob rule. We had to have rules. There are certain things the majority can't take away from us. They can't take away the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, any of the Bill of Rights. The majority has no right. Those rights were given to us by our Creator, and they pre-exist government. We have a government, we now have a president who fundamentally misunderstands it. It amazes me that people say that he actually taught constitutional law. He said recently that because Obamacare had passed by a majority, to him a significant majority, that the Supreme Court had no right to rule on its constitutionality. We stand at a precipice in our country where we must make decisions, and I don't think we have a lot of time left. Phil Gramm used to talk about there's getting too many people in the wagon and not enough people pulling the wagon. The wagon's getting heavy. Less and less people are working. Less and less people are paying the taxes. We have to do something before there's so many people on the receiving end and so few people on the working end that it becomes, you know, we slide into Western socialism. And I'm afraid we're going in that direction. We are at a point where we're borrowing $50,000 a second. We have to do something about it. But in doing so, we need to recognize that we do have choices. It's not all bad news. We have a great country. I tell people it's not that we are inherently exceptional, but our ideas were exceptional. The ideas and heritage of our Constitution and Declaration of Independence are exceptional. Ourselves once again, if we will believe in the system of capitalism that made us great, if we will know and understand that if you want to help your fellow man, if you want a society and a civilization that can create wealth to help your fellow man and to be humanitarian, it's capitalism. It creates wealth like no other country ever has. But we have to believe in ourselves again. We cannot believe that because your neighbor has 3 cars and you have a moped, that we're going to send the president to take one of their cars and get you a car. We have to believe that we want to increase that pie of jobs and wealth can increase if we believe in freedom. If we do, we will thrive again. I hope to be at the forefront of that and to continue to fight for you, and I thank you very much for having me.